You guys are first on the agenda. Yep, you're number one on the agenda. All right, cool. All right, sounds good. See you.
You have a notepad and a pen right there for me to take any notes. Where's Chris? He's coming.
So it looks like Rose is here. Rose, can you do a sound check?
Robert is here.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, Shannon.
Mark, can you unmute Rose and let's make sure we can hear Rose?
I can unmute her. She is not connected.
She's unmutable.
Hi, Mark. I'm here. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Hi, Rose. Great.
Hi.
So I think we're just missing.
Hi. Can everybody hear me?
Hi, Rose.
Rose, we can hear
Hi,
you.
Robert.
You were a little broken up, but we
Good.
could hear you. I think we're just waiting for the mayor.
Oh. Very good. You
Rose,
can hear me well,
Rose,
right?
Rose, your connection is bad. How did you connect it? Are you connected to your
I
computer?
connect to my phone and I try to connect to computer giving me problem. Oh, here we go. I got it.
I don't know if you want a chance walking her through it, but she might have more bandwidth on LTE if she's connected to a congested Wi-Fi.
She is on now. Can you turn, Rose, can you turn your microphone bar up? Your sound is low.
The video is disabled on this one.
We have screen sharing of a PowerPoint presentation. It should be visible on your device.
Oh, yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Okay, the mayor's trying to log in.
Rose, your microphone is not working. Are you going to switch back to your phone?
She's chatting.
Rose, can you test your mic?
So does that mean that Mariah needs to acknowledge her white privilege too? Why?
Oh yeah, she's been married. She's already. I didn't say it's white privilege. I didn't say it's privilege. Because we're not white. You don't have white privilege.
We
Still
Brown
enjoy.
privilege?
No, it's privilege. We have privilege. Other groups, or just
maybe
I
I'm
think it's
going
like
to use this top here. Huh? What do you think?
Yeah.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yes, your sounds better now.
I sound better now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. I'm wondering if I should use my earphone or just talk to the phone instead of the earphone. Turn off that. Mute that. Yeah.
Just stay like it is.
So I can talk
We can
from
test that one in another time.
Yeah. I just stay with my I can hear myself here. I can hear that box. Otherwise I hear something there.
You think so?
Okay. I have problem with that.
Rose, I just mute you. So I will unmute you when you are doing the presentation.
Mark, the mayor was having trouble. I think he may be phoning in.
Okay.
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, this one is better.
That's
This one
much
much-
better, Rose. Much better.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the computer is having problem with the connection. Thank you so very much.
Gene, Ricardo let me know he's not going to be able to make it, and he asked to be excused.
Oh, glad to hear this.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, the connections are better. Oh,
Mariah, Leslie, how can you say that about?
Were you married yet?
Hey, Robert, you might want to mute yourself.
Hi, Shannon. Hi, Shannon.
Hi.
Can you tell me how I sound? Am I sound okay or too loud or too low?
No, Rose, you sound perfect.
Can you hear
Okay,
me? This is
thank you.
Manny. This is Manny. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mayor, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, you guys. I don't know what happened here.
No problem, Mayor. Ricardo will not be able to join us. He asked to be excused. Other than that, we're ready to go.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone. Hold on. Let me just put my little mic on. Hold on.
Hey, Mayor, give me about 30 seconds. I'm going to turn on the YouTube channel.
Can everyone hear me here? Okay.
Yes,
I'm
that's
gonna
good.
wait. I'm gonna wait for Mark. Yeah.
I can hear
I'm
you,
gonna wait for
Mayor.
Mark. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone.
Are you sure that?
What?
Are you sure they heard?
We're waiting for Mark.
Hi, Mayor, we are live.
Alrighty, thank you very much. First, I want to apologize for when I was unable to get on the actual system here, but I have now, so please accept my apology. This would like to open up the agenda of the Baldwin Park City Council special virtual meeting. Today is June 3rd, 2020, and the time is 5:13. So what we, at this point, I will have the city clerk, Ms. Gina Ayala, take roll call. Ms. Ayala, can you hear me? Is Ms. Gina Ayala there? First of all, can everyone hear you?
I can hear you, Mayor.
Right. We're getting some interference there, so I don't know what that's about.
We can hear you, Mayor. Jean's coming in a little broken up.
Okay, City Clerk,
Yes,
go
can you
ahead.
guys hear me?
Oh, now we can, yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. City Clerk, you want to go ahead and take roll call? Okay, are we able to hear, Jean? Okay, if not, if we can't, I will go ahead and take roll call.
Thank you, Mayor.
So all right, so at this point, I'll go ahead and go by the list that we have. So at this point, Vice Mayor Paul Hernandez,
Present.
Councilmember Alejandra Avila,
Here.
Councilmember Monica Garcia.
Here.
Okay, and then I will, Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco has been excused. So then at this point, I will go ahead and make a motion to excuse Councilmember Ricardo Pacheco. That is my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Hernandez. All right, this point, City Clerk, just let us know when you're on board there. All right, so at this point, I will go ahead and so unless there's any public communication, do we have any public communication? The City Clerk, if you could hear me? If not hearing it, so at this point, we could always go back if there is a public communication at the end of the meeting. We'll go ahead and go on into the open session, which is a study session, which is a fiscal year 2020-21 budget presentation by Rose Tam, a finance director. So at this point, Rose.
Mayor Rose, if I
Yes.
could, this is Shannon.
Sure.
If I could just
Sure.
say a few words before Rose gets started. First of all, I want to thank all of the staff. They really worked hard over the last few weeks. As you know, they were asked to make 15% cuts to their budget. Everybody really thought out of the box, got down to work. So there's some better news tonight. It's still not great news. Things are still, not as they need to be, but there is better news. What you'll see doesn't include any employee increases in salary or benefits in the next year, and a lot of departments have had to cut their travel budgets, training budgets, overtime budgets, making reallocations to special funds. We've spoke with a lot of vendors. A lot of our vendors have agreed to take a 10 to 15% reduction in their fees over the next 6 to 12 months. So there's a lot of things going into this. We might let each director, especially police department, brief you on a couple of the things that are included in their budget after Rose makes her presentation. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, Rose Tam.
Hello, good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I'm going to provide you an update on the fiscal 2021 budget. And we continue to take a proactive planning to minimize the fiscal impact during these uncertain times. Next slide, please. And we have shown this slide before based on the projected 2020 budget. Next slide, please. This slide shows based on the adopted fiscal 2020 budget, if we do not do anything, we projected a deficit of 6.8 million. With the City Council's direction, staff worked very hard and came together with various solutions for reducing the deficit, including working with vendors to provide temporary reduction to ongoing contracts and services. Together, we have reduced the projected deficit from $6.8 million to only $375,000, as you may see from the next slide or this slide. And we will continue to work together to come up with more possible savings. And this is much better news compared to the last presentation we gave to you. And as Shannon mentioned, we want to thank all the staff's hard work and their ideas to come up and lead us to this point on this day. And we will come back in the next meeting and come up with more possible savings and solutions.
Yeah, Rose, if I could just add still, just so everybody knows, this is still a work in progress. We're very close to a balanced budget. It's good news, but it also doesn't make up for the possibly $3 or more million that we have lost over the last 3 or 4 months. So we're still working hard to get that down. There are various things that we can consider or talk about. Some of those we might talk about in the closed session. But again, this is still a work in progress, and we're working to get it as positive. We'd like to see a surplus, but that's we're going to try to do as much as we can here. Thank you.
And I would like to thank all of the city staff for their hard work and dedication to make this possible. I also want to sincerely thank the City Council for their direction and continued support. And next, Shannon will ask the director and department heads to talk about what they did to come up with these savings to reduce the budget from $6.8 million to $375,000. Thank you again.
So thank you, Rose. I don't know, Chief, I know you had some important things in your budget for the most part. Public Works was able to cancel some projects that used general funds or other special funds, and then use those to help the special fund. I know all the departments did their best, but I know PD has some pretty significant things that I think the chief might want to talk about. Chief, maybe the helicopter program, the jail, the crossing guard program.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Good evening. Yes, certainly it was a challenge for all of us, and there's so many people that worked on this budget, and I can't even start without giving credit to Sergeant Frank Rial. He worked his butt off. I know that. I know he did it from home, and I know he stayed late, and so he did a really good job, and I know he away from his family, and so tremendous job. I also had Lieutenant Hofford and Captain Finley and others chime in to try to get different perspectives on how we prioritize things. And so I want to thank all of them. We did meet the goal of the 15%. And based on the new numbers that came in from Rose post our deadline, I think our numbers are actually bigger than that by maybe 30,000. I won't go over line by line, but what I will do is kind of give you some major bullet points. You got the information in front of you, but certainly the bulk was more than $2 million salary savings. We froze all the positions that we could. And certainly priorities and essential positions, all those dynamics and variables you take in considerations, importance from all the stakeholders involved, factored that in. So over $2 million salary savings. Closing the jail, which is an option, would save about $340,000. although that's kind of a sidebar with all of you because it's a presentation itself on what our options are. But in addition to that, we reached out to the company, and they've already made concessions to reduce the cost by over 40-something thousand. So that's already been done. And the jail, that's the decision that all of you will have to make. And but there's a lot involved, and so that's kind of a sidebar. We cut overtime by $250,000, and so this really is not a good time to be talking about overtime and stuff like that. Although my commitment to all of you, and I think if you look back 6 months, we've done a pretty good job on reducing overtime, prioritizing, managing, being creative, being innovative, holding people accountable, implementing policies, procedures, and protocols to do a better job of managing that over time. And my goal, my commitment, and it's not just for the 6 months, and it's not just for a budget crisis, it's a mindset that I think we can do better next year. But I know that all of you agree that what's going on right now is certainly going to, is something we didn't expect, and it'll factor in shortly. Now, the crossing guard project, where I came from in Ventura County, they paid for the whole program. And I met with all the decision makers, and they agreed, that's over there, that we're going to do that. That's our responsibility. When the kids leave home for school until the time they get home, it's our responsibility. Let me be clear, I'm talking about Ventura. So they paid for that program. And so we paid for the whole thing, more than $200,000. Now, from my perspective, this is only Steve McLean, is both of us have the responsibility for our students. They go to their schools. I have the responsibility to protect everybody in our community. So we both have that responsibility. I believe it's a shared responsibility. Therefore, I believe it should be a shared cost, at the very least, a shared cost. So that's on the table. The possibility of furloughing the part-timers. I know all of you well enough to know that not one of us wants to do anything close to that. But these are unprecedented times. The economy has been decimated. And so from my perspective, everything should be on the table. And the helicopter program, when I went into this whole project, I was told everything's on the table. It doesn't mean we're going to do any of this or all of this. That's your decision. But the helicopter program, first of all, it's been a great value to our community. They do a good job, and we have a good partnership, and we have a good history with them. But if come August, the pilot's going to retire, and the helicopter is about $18,000, we're in a position to save about $218,000. Now, I did make some phone calls and reach out to the sheriff's department. No, actually, he reached out to me. Let me correct myself. And, was asking, hey, how much you guys pay, this and that. And based on population, based on activity, a lot of different dynamics. And he sent me what a community, city, much larger population than ours. Similar type crime, they paid around $38,000 a year. And so I'm not saying yes, no, whatever. I'm just saying that I'm asked to put things on the table, and everything's on the table. That's about $200,000 saving. And of course, the line item cuts totaled about $450,000. And so that's the nuts and bolts and the bulk of what we did. We're prepared to do more. We're trying to be creative. We're trying to I think we need to do a better job at looking for grants, and that's on me. And I'll do better. I think that with the new stimulus budget, the third round, I'm going to aggressively look for an opportunity to go after those grants and to do it aggressively. I also am still trying to, and a lot of stuff got sidetracked in this COVID-19. I would like to have a reserve program. I know in Ventura County, reserves saved me $1 million a year. And so volunteer program, trying to enhance that. Just that right now, I don't feel comfortable bringing volunteers into our COVID-19 environment. I don't think that's responsible. So those are just some of the things that we've done that are on the table. And the other thing that I've recommended is that several of our employees have shown an interest in leaving early with some kind of incentive, and that's something that if you want my thought down the road, but there are several employees who would consider, at least two for sure, leaving in the near future for some type of incentive, with the end result in long-term saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that's a decision, and we can talk down the road, but that's what we've done for now, and I'm always looking and thinking and appreciate everybody's input. And the last thing real quick is the Animal Control Officer program, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think this year or next year, it's going to go up to $650,000. I think we do much, much better. Again, Frank Rial has reached out and looked up to different communities, different cities, different programs. And there's one that he's been working on, often on his days off, communicating with and talking to, and we're making real good progress. Now, to be sure and to be clear, they cannot do everything that we're required or requesting to do, but there are bullet points and things that they can do to minimize our cost. And so I have asked Frank to continue, and to at some point in time, I would like to meet with him and obviously, you and the mayor and at some point in time, we need to have that meeting, but Frank is working it, he's making progress, and he's keeping me informed, and that's on the table. And so those are just some things that we're trying to be creative, we're trying to be innovative, we're looking at different shifts, we're looking at the 36 hours, we're looking on where's the majority of our calls, we're looking at statistics, where do we need to do a better job in allocating our resources, high crime, high hours, peak hours. Everything's on the table. And so we'll continue to do that.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for the Chief or other directors?
Yes, this is Paul. Thank you, Chief, very much for taking the time to go through your items here. I would ask not only for you, but the rest of the directors to, if you guys could provide us, the line items in which you guys are looking at cutting in the proposed budget for this year, that would be fantastic. Chief, when it comes to the crossing guards, how much are we looking at a cost reduction or cost sharing there? What's the total amount for that line item in normal times?
Well, if they came to the conclusion, yes, it's our responsibility, it's a couple $100,000.
What's the total cost right now? Just, if we do it 100%.
228 comes to mind.
Give or take, got it.
And if we partnered, that's 100,000 plus.
No, I totally believe in partnership. It's just the reality is the school districts are being disseminated, and unless they get additional funding from the state, that might not be something that's necessarily viable. But the other thing too is, when it comes to the crossing guard, at least for this particular year, or at least for a time period, I'm not sure myself at this point, but I hear they may or may not be canceling in-person classes. So I'm not sure if it's still going to be needed. So just as an FYI. The other item you mentioned, I just have two more. The other item you mentioned, you talked about furloughing part-time workers, or did you also say full-time also? I just want to make it clear.
Part-time.
Part-time. And why part-time versus full-time?
Well, I think we all agree that.
Chief, I mean, I can answer that. I think we're going to look at that. It's something we want to talk to the bargaining units about. It's something we'll probably discuss in the closed session.
Understood.
We'll look at that sort of citywide. One other thing on the crossing guards, Paul, you brought up a good point. We don't know what school's going to look like in the fall. And
Right.
I've heard of all different scenarios. Sometimes some school districts are talking about smaller class sizes. So children will come half a day and leave at noon, and another class will come in at noon, which complicates things for crossing guard programs because we're normally morning and afternoon. And now, I don't know if that adds a third shift, and that adds possible cost increases. So you're right. We just don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, so, in the next couple of weeks, if we can try to reach out to our partners from the school district and get a better sense of what that looks like before we, we do that or make that decision at this point. The other thing also, Chief, you talked about, doing, freezing all the positions. My concern is, and perhaps you guys, if you or Frank could speak to it, is by freezing the positions that you have now, not excluding necessarily the assistant chief at a later time that comes on board in the new year, will that still affect your overtime? Will that increase, or is that just, or the small increase in overtime already built into your calculations? Did I lose everybody?
You there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Chief, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Vice Mayor, first of all, I appreciate your foresight and your input regarding the crossing guards. I appreciate that. So yes, it's built in, and another thing that I think that we should keep in mind going forward. And I know that everything's changing, dynamic, and I understand it, but if and when that commander position happens, and I would recommend sooner than later, we're going to save overtime. And we've had that talk, and we've had that presentation. But then again, this just happened. So now overtime, that discussion's got to come in again.
Right. So I just want to be mindful of that, because again, you also mentioned what I consider an early retirement package. I'm also open to that as personally, but that only works if we continue to freeze those positions on a over a period of time, and that's much longer than one fiscal year. And each of those positions are then reviewed on a case-by-case basis before we begin filling those positions, not only just in your division, your department, but that's just across any department. So I just want to
Councilmember Hernandez, and Councilmember Hernandez, if I could.
Yes.
So there is the PERS program, but
Right.
we've looked at other options, and there may be some other options that we could do a golden handshake with a lesser cost. But you're right, we still need to freeze that position probably for at least a year. But we can talk more about those things in the closed session.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Mayor, I have a question for the chief.
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember.
Okay, first I want to comment on the crossing guard, and everybody is correct. The school district, like the city and all cities and all school districts, are working with a very, very difficult budget. So at this time, I wouldn't even consider their help until they get their budget out, because it's not out at this time. I do recommend maybe looking for volunteer program. I don't know if we've ever done volunteer crossing guards, so that we can still provide that type of service. Maybe it's something to look into. The other thing I had a question about was, you said that not getting rid of the helicopter and going with the sheriff, the cost is $38,000 a year. My question is, what will the service be like coming from sheriff, and what's the availability coming from sheriff? Because that's an extreme cost savings compared to what we're paying now. So I'm wondering the type of service we will be getting from them compared to what we're getting now. Just today we used a helicopter, and it was out there patrolling, making sure everything went well with the protest. And so those are my concerns, making sure that we're still going to get the service as needed. I've been on ride-alongs where the helicopter has been needed, and the minute they call them, the helicopter is there and has been very helpful in helping the police department. So I would like a report on that, the comparison of the services, what we're not going to be getting with such a low cost, paying such a low cost. Another question is, or not a question, about the cost savings in overtime. 2 meetings ago, maybe 3 meetings ago, I actually requested a detailed report on the savings on overcost. To this day, I have not on overtime, excuse me, to this day, I have not received it. So I can't see where your saving is on overtime. And I know you're saying we're saving money with the commander, but again, when we get commanders now, we're not saving money. I want to see what exactly are you talking about in saving. I want to see details where we save the overtime. I will email you the list exactly what I requested 3 meetings ago, because to this day I have not received it. So can you get me that information, Chief, please?
Yes, and with all due respect, Council Member, is I believe this has been discussed several times, and we've had PowerPoints, and I've got that information, and I'll get it to you.
And I think, I'm sorry if I could interrupt. This is Shannon. The finance has that spreadsheet, and I apologize. I thought we might have sent it out to everybody, but we'll resend it. We have a spreadsheet that compares the positions and the overtime savings. But we believe it's a pretty conservative approach, because overtime in some years have been much higher than we've actually assumed it could be in the future. But we'll send that out. I'll make sure that goes
because
out.
I'm just asking to look at it so I can see it. When it's in front of me, I can make a better comparison. So if I can get that information, and also get the difference between the sheriff, the helicopter with the sheriff, and the service that we're getting now, to make sure, I know that it is a lot of savings. So we could save that much money and still get the good quality service that we're getting now. That would be an excellent idea. So, and then look into the crossing guards, maybe volunteers. I don't know, because at this time, like I said, the district is still working on their budget. And as everybody knows, everybody's budgets have been cut. So.
And council member, that is a great idea on the volunteer crossing guards. It's something the chief and I have talked about. And it's something that when he sits down with the superintendent, I'll ask him to bring up, because that's something that we would really be able to assist the school district in doing that, because I believe that would be a great program. And I think a lot of volunteers out of the community and maybe probably a lot of parents would come out and do that.
Right.
So yeah, we would be willing to work very closely with the school on that.
And I think the superintendent would like that. We actually were discussing it today while we were delivering lunches. So it is definitely something to put on the table, see what we can do. Thank you.
May I make one more comment regarding the helicopter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, yes, I think comparisons are critical, and contrast and compare analysis, all the different factors. Let's be clear. This helicopter program, they've been a tremendous partner. And there are some very, very good relationships and partnerships. And it's been there for a long time. But I feel my responsibility is to throw everything on the table, and that doesn't mean anybody's going to do it. But it's on the table. One of the things that I kind of focused in was on 7 days a week service versus 4. 7 days a week coverage versus 4. And so, and we could really go over the history and the numbers. But that's one bullet point that to me, it stuck it out. 7 days a week coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And even more now than any other time. And so, but that's fair, and I'll give you all those numbers and
right. No, my point being that's an excellent savings. That's why I want to make sure we compare it and look at it, because if we can go with 38, of course that is amazing. So, but I want to make sure that we can get 7 days. If you're already saying 7 days a week compared to 4, that already sounds great, but I'm sure there's more to it. So if we can just look at it and send it to all of us, please.
Got it.
Thank you. All right. Chief, I have 3 questions. My first question, first of all, the helicopter. I was there when that program was introduced. I was a major advocate and campaigned for that throughout the San Gabriel Valley so that we bring on different cities. And at one time, so that everyone knows the history, Almani, of course, started. It was Rachel Montes, who was the mayor, who called me up and said, hey, we got a big program, just so everyone knows. So we joined up with them. It was the R-22, I think it is, a just 2-seater helicopter, and it went over to the R-44. Can't remember if the first number is correct or not on the helicopter. But then from there, we went on, recruited West Covina, Irwindale, Glendora, and Montebello, and I forget what other city. So it was, it was definitely beneficial to every one of us, so that everyone knows that helicopter program now, from all those cities that went there because of the expenditures and so on and so forth, they ended up only with Almani, of course, that's the creator of it, and the city of Baldwin Park. I don't know if they have a third city or not, but I believe currently it is just 2 cities. Am I correct on that, Chief, or am I wrong? Or did they recruit another city?
Yes, sir, I believe you're correct.
Okay, so at one time it was a vibrant program, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I advocated for it, and we brought it in, and it's been something that's been helpful for the city in many perspectives. Now, so that everyone knows, the city of West Covina is contracted with the Sheriff's Department. So why the Sheriff's Department? It's the Los Angeles County. So they have a lot more resources, about 10 times more than this helicopter program that we currently have, which, by the way, I will credit this program because it is an excellent program. However, if we're looking at going from 4 to 7 and paying a lot less, it's understandable. It's a huge, the Sheriff's Department is the largest law enforcement agency in the country, so they have the resources. So I think that is a plus for us to be able to increase in the resources that come to that. Not to say, of course, our chief is a retired captain with the Sheriff's Department for 32 years. So again, I think that that's an idea. My second question, Chief, goes to the cross. I don't know how the city of Baldwin Park eventually ended up with that. I do believe, I think I know, but I'm not going to make that comment online here. But most cities, that the school districts, it comes out of their budget, and somehow we ended up with it. Of course, it's our community and we support it, but because the times have become much tough, we definitely need to make sure that we kind of go on a half and half type of a position. Now, school districts, so that everyone knows, was in dire deficit prior to this, the COVID-19, and of course the closure of everything. So they had a previous existing deficit, and of course this makes it worse, not only for them but for the city. So that's understandable. So that's, I just want to share a little tidbit in that area. My third question, Chief, the jail, and I was there when the jail was opened up back when Mayor Fidel Vargas brought it in and said, hey, let's open up the jail. And I don't know, what is the cost? Is it about close to 400,000, 300,000 or something in that area, Chief?
I believe it's 380,
okay.
380 and 4.
So I'm just kind of curious. I want to make sure we look at those numbers, because if it is cheaper, in other words, and I think you said this before, Chief, will we, if we do it independently and go, send an officer
out of the city to process the person, I mean, will we be saving that? I mean, are we going to reach that same number, $380,000 per year? Do we do that many arrests? I don't know, whatever the case may be. But that's something for us to really look at and think about, that it may be cheaper, that say if it costs 100,000, 200,000 versus the close to 400,000. So we need to take a look at that. I was there when they first opened up that jail, and I just want to make sure that I share that with everyone, because there may be a possibility for us to look at, and I'm going with another department because it may be a lot better for us. So, and I think that's something for us to look at as well, Chief.
Sir, you know, again, and you know, I guess this is Frank Real's night, but you know, he did a lot of research on the jail, as did others here, and there's a lot of dynamics. There's a couple things that we do. You know, we're put in a position where we've had a lot of long-time relationships and partnerships and contractors, and you just talked about the history and partnership with the helicopter program. And it's painful to go to them during the current environment and ask them to reduce costs, or even tell them we're looking somewhere else. But my perspective is everybody's got to feel the pain, and everybody's on the table. And certainly my first thing was to reach out to the crossing guard and see if they would reduce their costs. And they were unable to do so. And so then back to Sergeant Real, he looked into CHP along with Captain Finley at the possibility of them booking their DUIs here, which should be a closer drive than going to county jail and other places. And I had Captain Finley do some follow-up research, again, along with Sergeant Real, and they book about 150, and this is numbers we just got a couple of days ago, 150 per month. Now, if you extrapolate that throughout a fiscal year, the potential is $180,000 a year by letting them book here. And so that's something that I'm interested in pursuing. You know, I recommend that we pursue that. And so that's all I can add, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, hold on. I was talking to myself. I had muted myself. Let me just say, Chief, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we definitely need to look at innovative ideas. For one, this is the 21st century. And again, that began in the 20th century, and I was there when that began, the helicopter and the jail. So we need to understand, all of us need to recognize that the times have changed. So yes, do both of these particular subjects come up for a question? Absolutely. So we need to make certain that we look at that. And then also, Chief, out of curiosity, do we have enough space to PhD? Is that one of the canine dogs there? Chief, are you there? Hello? Hello? Did I lose you guys?
No, Mayor, the dog, I'm sorry, the dog threw me off. You know, I did mention that the jail has already agreed to reduce their cost by $48,000, again, by reaching out to our partners, suppliers, and they get it, you know, and so they've agreed to cut costs by $46,000.
Well, you know what, Chief, and I guess we'll talk about that in closed session with the council. But and it is important. Again, these are changing times where they would be considered a vendor. That they need to understand that if we can negotiate with them, it's fine. If not, we got to move forward. I mean, we have a city of 75,000 residents, and they expect us to make some very tough decisions. So we'll definitely discuss that more in closed session with the council. Appreciate that. Thank you. Now, real quick. So okay. Did you answer my question? I don't know if I got cut off or not. About, do we have enough space there for the CHP if they were to utilize it? How many? I forget. I know how many does that accommodate? We have a drunk tank. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Say, how many will it accommodate down there? I'm kind of curious. Or you don't have to answer it now if you don't have that answer. Hello, anyone there?
Yes, yes. No, I'm good. And thank you for the questions, Mayor.
Bring that next time, Chief. That's fine. Not a
No,
big.
it's a quick answer, and I have it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is most of the bookings the DUIs, and so we're talking tickets here.
Okay.
And we will use primarily the tank. We can accommodate 16, but what they do is they cite everybody, and so we can accommodate them. And you know, the one bullet point I did forget is I believe that CHP could be moving their operations, and so that may factor in. But for now, you know, that's on the table, and that's something I believe that we should continue to look at.
Yeah, Chief, you are right. I was speaking to one of the CHP last week, and they did indicate that they're planning on closing up that station. But I don't know, with everything going on right now, who knows how long before that occurs. So they're going to be moving to Pomona, from my understanding. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
yes, they are in the planning phases of
Pomona.
moving to. Yeah, they're in the planning phases of moving to Pomona, to the old Lanterman facility off the 57. But we've been hearing about it for years, so we'll try to find out something more current on the timing.
All right, sounds good. All right, so at this point, we're going to move along. Council members.
Mayor?
Yes, Council Member
Really?
Avila.
Sorry, really quick. I just wanted to clarify something that I had asked the chief earlier, because he said he had sent me the information. So just to be clear, I know, Shannon, you're going to send me the information, but I will email you these questions again, because at the last meeting, I had asked to explain to me in detail how much lieutenant had in overtime and how much was being saved. And I also needed to know what assignments these lieutenants were doing their overtime. So it was very detailed what I asked. So Chief, no, I don't. I just went through all my emails and I don't have answers to these specific questions. So I will put it in writing and I will send it to you and I will CC everybody so I can make sure I get these answers. Thank you.
All right, so, okay, moving along. At this point, council members have any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just really quickly, Shannon, are the other department heads going to share some of the highlights of their budget reduction strategy?
Yeah, they're available. We can go through that one by one, or they're available for questions. I did want the chief to highlight his. A lot of the departments are more routine. Didn't involve very community-oriented issues like the crossing guards and the helicopter and the jail. But they are here available if you'd like them to each give a short blurb.
Yeah, I think so.
Please.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and maybe we could start with community services and recreation. Manny?
Hello, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem and council members, thank you for the opportunity to articulate some of the reductions we have in recreation and community services. We are freezing all vacant part-time positions. We have furloughed numerous part-time staff, approximately 60 part-time staff. We are proposing to close Barnes Park Family Recreation Center for the entire fiscal year, and we will only be open for rental facilities. Keep in mind, we still have access to the exterior of the park, the splash pad, the fitness zone, the green space, and so on, when we are allowed to open up those elements. Same thing goes for the Arts and Recreation Center. We are going to be closing that for one entire fiscal year, and we will be open for facility rentals. The Teen Center, it will be open, but we are eliminating 1 hour per day. So we'll be closing at 6 p.m. versus 7 p.m. We are canceling all aquatic program until March of next year. So that works a little bit in our favor in terms of the COVID-19. I do not anticipate aquatics opening up in around Southern California, probably for a few more months. So we will just open up March of 2021. So that includes swim lessons, rec swim, adult lap swim, water aerobics, and swim team. Feel free to interject. I have a few more items. All youth sports are canceled until March of 2021. That also includes T-ball and soccer. All special events are canceled through the end of the year, and I will just highlight a few of them. Older American recognition, movies on the green, summer lunch program, summer concerts, street market, and Pride of the Valle, Dia de los Muertos, the parade, and then fast forwarding all the way to the end of the year, we are also proposing a tree lighting and breakfast with Santa. The two programs that we will continue with will be the Santa Claus program, as well as the food basket program, both programs in December. In addition, the basic day camp program that will be canceled until probably the end of summer. I believe, well, I'm sorry, let me correct myself. It is canceled through all summer, through the entire summer, and we will open up for after school daycare program starting in August, September, whenever the kids go back to school. I have heard that Baldwin Park Unified School District will commence in August, so we'll have to see if that is accurate. And then most, if not all, senior citizen trips are reduced and or canceled. We are anticipating of having one trip for the remainder of the year, and we save money on staff. We also subsidize a lot of the tours as well as transportation. We will reduce the computer lab from 5 days a week to 2 days a week. And we have a few more reductions. We will bring more repairs in-house versus outsourcing. We have done a pretty good job in regards to that, but we will try to refine it a little bit more. And we have reached out to some of our contractors, and just one vendor as an example, they have reduced their annual expenditure. We have a contract with Honeywell, and they reduced it by approximately 16%, which equated to over $20,000. So by asking, and during this economic downturn and this COVID-19 pandemic, some of the vendors are definitely open to some modifications. Although rest assured, staff is very assertive and aggressive every day, regardless of this pandemic, to get the best price possible. Maybe sometimes a little bit too aggressive, but we definitely are searching high and low and receiving our three bids, if not more, trying to get the best price possible. And that concludes staff's comments, and we reduced by 15% approximately.
Yeah, let me, I want just to share something. First of all, thank you, Manny Carrillo. Once we're in closed session, we're obviously going to be discussing other things. I personally believe that we should look at salvaging some of these programs. I know we're practically at zero in this department that has, for years, as long as I've been here, has given up more than any other department, and that's unfortunate. We have to look at, in closed session, looking at having to take some very important decisions to be able to accommodate and supply the funds that we need to for some of these programs that Manny Carrillo's talking about, because we're basically at zero. And I mean, we need to really look at that, but I'm not going to get into it until we get into closed session. Okay, anyone else have anything to say?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Manny, two things. You mentioned the computer lab being closed for right now 2 days. What's the general cost of keeping it, adding additional 2 more days? I say that because I see the computer lab being a resource in which 22 or 20% of our community could help spruce their resume building and or job interview skills and or look for jobs and more importantly, do schoolwork from home if need, or from our lab if need to. So I just want to understand what's the real cost of doing that.
I would anticipate the real cost is about $35 an hour to keep the computer lab open. That would include staff time, materials, and supplies in regards to the technology center.
Okay, no, thank you very much. And are we doing the computer lab? Is it generally open, from the afternoon to the evening per se, or is it all day that you guys are looking at for those 2 hours or those 2 days?
It is traditionally open after school, and we have a clientele of adults and kids and family that utilize it.
Understood. And just for clarification, and I know we'll get into this in closed session, when you say furlough part-time staff, are you essentially saying not bringing back any of the full-time staff, only as needed based on whatever program you or services we might need them, essentially use them as an as-needed personnel?
Yes, part-time staff is utilized on an as-needed basis, and if we are not providing all these services, then our staff, our aquatic manager, lifeguards, after-school coaches, day camp counselors, all those staff members will not be utilized.
No, I understand. Thank you very much. And just for clarification, if things are improving come the new year, February, January, is that something in which you have, if council gives you the additional funding at that time because things are improving, is it fairly simple to kind of revamp the normal course of programs that you would be doing in the spring? I'm sorry, yeah. Early spring.
Yes.
Thank you for
it wouldn't be simple, but we could make it happen, because keep in mind, a lot of the staff members have been with us for years, and if they do not come back, then they'll probably be looking for other employment. So when it's time to come back, they may not be available, so we may need to train other staff members, but we could definitely make it happen. Thank you.
Roger. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, this is Robert Tafoya.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I received an email from a Baldwin Park resident asking to have public communication related to the budget issue that you're discussing. I informed him on the email that the mayor did check at the beginning of the meeting, and we did not believe we had any public comments emailed to the clerk. And the Baldwin Park resident responded and said, I can confirm that a minimum of 10 people emailed the city clerk to voice concerns about the city's budget. So I would recommend that you open up public communication, Mr. Mayor, before you leave this agenda item.
As I indicated, thank you, legal counsel. As I indicated,
and Mayor,
hold on. Let me finish. As I indicated earlier, that if there was public communication, then we would adhere to those at the end of this budget meeting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And Robert, if I could ask, are any of those, do those involve the fireworks stands? Because we did receive a number of those, and those were going to be read at the 7 o'clock meeting.
He didn't say that. He just said, I can confirm that a minimum of 10 people emailed regarding the city's budget. I assume that would include that.
Okay, so hold on. No, legal counsel, they said they went to the city clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead, Councilman Alejandra. Sorry.
yes, maybe what we should do is have them email Lulu and Miss Gina Ayala, so that way, I know Miss Gina Ayala is having problems connecting today. If she's having problems, Lulu's available, and then once Lulu receives it, she can CC Shannon with everything in case she's having problems as well. That way we cover all bases and we know that these comments will be read. We need to take precaution and make sure that we are getting these comments and are being read to the community. So maybe add other people to that list that they should be CCing when they send their comments.
Okay.
We can do that.
Go ahead. Moving along with that. Anyone else have any comments? If not, we'll go to the next person, the next presenter. Who is that?
Sam, do you want to cover Public Works?
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, hi. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about what we've done in terms of helping out to save some money and reduce the deficit. I do want to start by thanking staff. I really want to thank John Bechet and Anthony Vasquez and Vicky from my staff. They've done a great job helping and coming up with ideas for all this. So I'm gonna run very quickly and only hit the highlights. First, like the other departments, we have some salary savings. We have 3 vacancy positions that we are not going to fill. We're holding them over for a year. We've cut down the materials and supplies budget. We've reduced consultant services. So we looked at what is it that we can take on in-house and not rely so much on consultant services. So we've made some cuts there. We've eliminated our travel budget and our meetings and conferences budget. We're gonna move over to virtual options there. Also cut down on our overtime budget with all the recreation events being canceled, and that causes a lot of overtime for us. So we have some savings there. Also, one of the bigger cuts we have that benefits the general fund is a transfer out. So what this is usually the general fund subsidizes our park maintenance district, but we have been building a reserve over the years, and we were able to make a significant of that. So that reduces some of the general fund cost. Moving on, I do want to talk about capital improvement projects. As you know, being an essential part of the work, a lot of our projects continued on during the, well, they're continuing on right now during the COVID situation. So we were able to complete a lot of the projects. So overall, we're looking at about $8 million together with completed projects that are not going to be moving over to next year. We did a lot of work, so we're very proud of that. But we're also delaying some projects, not all. It's a small number of projects that we're going to be delaying. So just to kind of go over a few of them, we are delaying the CNG station that we had planned for the city yard. We're delaying a traffic signal at Olive and Phelan. That was a project where the school district requested some safety improvements along the school route, and we were planning on putting in a traffic signal there. We're delaying major capital purchases. So we had a dump truck that we were going to be purchasing that's been delayed. We're looking at maybe a lease option on that, but right now it's been postponed. And in terms of paving, we're still going to be doing some paving next year. However, we reduced the projected budget for paving. So originally we had $1.2 million scheduled in paving. That's now being cut back to about 800,000. Now, reducing or delaying some of these projects relieves the pressure on special funds, and it could be reallocated and help out with the current situation. We're also delaying our energy efficiency project that was recently approved by the city council, and that was going to use future development funds, about 400,000. But we've talked to the contractor there, so we're going to be delaying that. All grant-funded projects will continue, but we're keeping a close eye on the funding sources at the local level and the state level. So, but they'll continue on. Also, all grant-funded projects that we've worked on and spent money on, we are working really diligently to get that money back and get our reimbursements back for that. Now, on the operations side, on the maintenance side, we were able to reduce the budget by 189,000. This is doing the similar things, cutting down where we think it makes sense, especially with meetings, materials and supplies and things of that sort. But the biggest cut there was to our fleet budget. Our lease program has been very successful. And so we're seeing a lot of savings over the last 3 years that we've been on it. So we were able to make about $100,000 in cuts to the fleet, to the fleet budget, and that's been helping out a lot because the fleet budget is subsidized by the general fund. So vendors have been very cooperative. They've been working with us. Our transit operator has agreed not to increase rates, even though they were due for an increase. West Coast Arborists, these are our tree trimming contractor. They've also agreed to maintain the rates. Infrastructure engineers have agreed to not raise their rates and keep their current rates, which is good. They've been really good to work with. Also, Verizon, we have a Verizon contract. We were able to renegotiate, rework that contract, and bring some savings there. So that's pretty much general picture of all of the things we're doing.
Wow.
Any questions?
Sam, real quick. So did we ask all those others that are not going to increase if they can negotiate? Did we do that?
Yeah, so we are, because we're in the current contract, the contract has to be renegotiated and taken back to council. And we are right now on hold. They're not increasing the rates, but yes, absolutely, we have to sit down at the table and renegotiate those. If we see that it's not to the city's benefit, we will RFP and look for another vendor and get a better rate.
All right. Council members have any questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Sam, just can you explain or share with us how the graffiti removal will be impacted or not?
Yeah, so the graffiti crew, the first thing we did there was we removed all general fund allocations to the salaries, and we supplemented that with some special funds. And it's all special funded, and as of the latest numbers, we're pretty confident that they're going to be good to go. But we didn't make any cuts other than that. Maybe some cuts to materials and supplies. We switched over to using recycled paint instead of regular paint. So we now have a new vendor where we're getting paint that has been recycled, and that has helped out also with the budget.
Excellent. Thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Any questions?
Hi, Mia. I would like to make some comments
Okay.
about the reductions.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Finance reduced about 70% of the part-time pay that we used to pay for our intern. In all these past years, we offer a finance intern opportunity to the local, mostly to the local graduates, to gain experience, at the same time help the city and finance to reduce costs, to reduce overtime, to assist us in various accounting related works. And also we work with the current city independent auditor, West Chris Company, and ask them to contribute help also. And they agree to keep their contract with the current year cost, not to increase the cost, which save about $3,000. We also asked the annual report disclosure consultant, Susan Harrell, who assists us with issuing many city bonds, to contribute 15% reduction, and she agreed right away. And also, we talked to one of our accounting software company. They agreed to reduce 10% of the annual support costs. Plus, our city attorney, Robert, agreed to reduce his cost to 15% and provide the city fixed charge for the next coming new fiscal years. And thank you, Robert, for your contribution. And that's all the comments I have regarding the reductions.
Mayor,
Okay, our city clerk's back.
Mayor, I just want to apologize for my technical difficulties. But I do have comments that can be read as you directed at the end of the dialogue.
That's exactly what I shared from the beginning.
Okay, thank you. I'm here.
Right, so at this point, who's next? Who's next? Shannon, who's next?
Yes, we could go to Ben with community development.
Mr. Ben, our city's governor.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
I'll be very brief. The Community Development Department does not provide as many events. We don't really do events and services like that. So our cuts are very straightforward. And I must say, I've worked at a number of cities and our overhead budget was very lean to begin with. But we have cut all travel, mostly all training, conferences, memberships such as San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership, and we really wanted to look at joining the Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation. Those are cut, or we won't consider those. We don't hire a lot of consultants. We do most of our work in-house, but we are cutting basically all consultants. The only place I'll have consultants is for our affordable housing projects that are ongoing. We need specialized attorney services for affordable housing, and those will be paid out of affordable housing money, not the general fund. We cut the plan check services, outside plan check services, $50,000. And that's a significant cut. And that means that building division will have more to do in-house. It's got to mean that things are gonna, well, we'll see how the economy goes. Let's see how many plan checks we get, but it will probably mean some, we try to get our plan checks done very quickly, but if we're cutting all outside plan check services, that will, cause probably some delays in plan check services. Vendors, we don't have many vendors, but just one example, our GoGov vendor is our community enhancement program. They agreed to cut their vendor costs 20%. They help us with our code enforcement stuff. And then we are at just a absolute bare minimum. Materials and supplies and equipment of we're just keeping literally money for papers and pencils. And we do have vacant positions, especially in planning division. We're not a small city, and we have a lot going on. And just to recognize our planning division, Ron Garcia and Melissa Chipris, we only have 2 planners in our city, only 2 planners. So because we have 2 other positions that will remain vacant. So my staff, they work very hard. They're bare bone budget, and we're just doing the best we can. The last thing I'll mention is we have been and will continue to take advantage of free gain workers. This is through the AJCC. We get people coming into the labor. They want to get back to work, and through the AJCC, the America Job Corp, they come to us at no cost, and they work with our department. They help us with a lot of things. Some of these people they're trained. Some of them even have college degrees. So we only have 1 gain worker right now, but she's doing a heck of a job, and all of her costs are covered by the AJCC, nothing to the city, and she's full-time. She's full-time for almost 10 months, I believe. So we're going to try to get more gain workers because it's a great deal for us. And so I'll end my comments there. there's any questions, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Vice Mayor Hernandez, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ben, just kind of outline this for me. I understand that the commercial side of development work and so forth is still kind of continuing on versus the residential. Is that something that you and your colleagues are still finding?
We are still seeing a steady flow of both right now, just just in the last, I'll say the last month or so.
Right.
So we have, yeah. I couldn't tell you if one was greatly more active than the other.
Right. Considering that those developments do bring us fees in our, revenue stream for the city, I would ask if you could just kind of look at possible outsourcing some of the services or staff, because, if it costs us to, outsource something for 30,000 or 50,000 or even 100,000, but that's going to bring us, in revenues of, close to several hundred thousand in the coming months, then it just, to me, it seems logical to look at what areas we can do that, whether it's for plan check or other areas. But, if you can just kind of look at that, and bring some recommendations for us, especially as it's a revenue generating income stream for the city.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. That's a great suggestion. And if we have something major going on, like if Kaiser's going to build another wing, like they just completed, or something major, we should definitely analyze that situation, bring in the outside help that will be more efficient, get the project done more quickly. We collect fees, and it'll be better for us financially, as opposed to thinking it would be, it's not a good idea, get major projects in and we burden them with delays and so forth. That's not a good idea. So I appreciate your comments, and we'll be definitely looking at that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving along. Who's the next person?
So in the beginning, I mentioned most of the things that administration has done, and they're the same as finance. Cutting the travel budgets, meetings, overtime. We've negotiated with a lot of the vendors. We're still doing that with a lot of the vendors, and there's some of the outside attorneys that we're using. But again, most of our administration is personnel costs. So I think we were able to get our 15%, but through all of those little sort of not real. What's the word I want to say? They're just the menial things that we do. So.
All right.
And I think that's it. I think that's everybody, unless there's any other questions.
Mr.
Hi,
Mayor.
Shannon.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
Please,
you go
Ms.
ahead.
Sam. No, Ms. Sam, please.
Hi. In addition to thank everybody and all the staff's contribution and hard work to make this happen, and I would like to give a special thanks to our management assistant, Sharon. She's been working very hard during the last couple of days and over the weekend to assist me to put this budget together in a short period of time. Thank you for allowing me to give this comment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just one last thing. Shannon, this is for, all the executive team members and so forth, is, I know we are, cutting travel and conference attendees and so forth, but one of the things, to look at is many of these trainings and conferences are now going online. So, please look at continuing to, enhance your staff's knowledge by looking at, if it makes sense to be able to do some of these online trainings, which are much cheaper than even the in-person trainings that they offer. Professionally, I've been noticing that across the board on my side. So I suspect that's the case in, every other sector. because the last thing I'd want to have is, you know, having some knowledge gaps occur within our city, especially, you know, where in past times we would maybe send 2 or 3 people to a training. With the online version, we could essentially sometimes train up to 15 people. So the cost per person is much more reasonable than what it would be, you know, than doing some of the other stuff that, you know, specifically for, you know, rec and parks, planning, and of course, police department personnel. Thank you. That's all. And again, thank you everyone for their hard work on this.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you very much. All right, anyone have any other questions? All right, see, if not at this point, one moment, we're gonna go ahead and go into closed session.
Mayor, we had the public communications. I think, did you want Jean to read those?
Yes, so at this point, we're gonna go and have our Madam City Clerk, Ms. Gina Ayala. Go ahead. Hello?
She's on mute. David or Mark, can you unmute her? There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, okay, Ms. Clerk, we had you on
Thank
mute.
you. We have 9 comments to be read. And I apologize, as I said before. One moment. Thank you. I am a resident of Baldwin Park with my spouse. My immediate family, grandmother, aunts, and cousins have lived in Baldwin Park for over 25 years now. Over 10 of my family members attend and are graduated from public schools in Baldwin Park. My aunt is a teacher for the Baldwin Park Unified School District. As you can see, my family, both immediate and extended, have roots in the city. It has come to my attention that you allocated 64% of the general fund adopted expenditures to the police department for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. I would like to advocate for more funding for other departments, specifically focusing on the community development and recreation and community service departments. Our city is made up of predominantly people of color, and our community deserves more spaces and resources directly supporting the success of our community. According to the 2019 census, only 12.7% of our city's population received a bachelor's degree or higher between 2014 and 2018. The public school system's collaboration with police on our school campuses further isolates and criminalizes students of color in our elementary, middle, and high schools across Baldwin Park. Out of all of my family members attending Baldwin Park schools, I am the only one to hold college degrees, which is direct cause of the lack of community development and recreational projects across our city. I am emailing you today to advocate for less funds, less of my family's and my tax dollars being allocated to the police department in Baldwin Park. It is time that the city's Baldwin Park Center, its community's success and opportunity, which in turn will create solidarity among neighbors and our city's people. Our youth deserve community spaces, buildings aimed at educating and helping our people get access to resources, higher education, knowing our rights, food, healthy relationships, etc., and volunteer opportunities that can bring everyone together. By doing this, we can ensure a community focused on supporting and protecting one another. Please perpetuate a violent cycle of oppression targeting people of color. By allocating more funds to the community, police officers can enter spaces as community members rather than intimidate authority figures. I hope you consider this testimony during your next meeting and consider allocating less of our funds to police. I love my city, but I do not support the amount of funds you have previously allocated to police. Best, Alondra Morales, MED. Next, as a Baldwin Park resident, I demand that the City Council be transparent on when they will be voting on the 2020-2021 budget, and that the city reduce police department funding and invest more into community development, recreation, and community services. From Mary Lou Mercado, Baldwin Park resident. Excuse me. Next, this is to the clerk of the city of Baldwin Park. I'm emailing you today in regards on how tax money from me and the community should be spent. Seeing how last year's fiscal budget, 64% went to the police department, makes me disgusted. We do not need more money put into the police department when putting more money to them does not create a safer city. Instead, you should put that money to good use, such as our school systems. Great teachers are losing their positions, and it is sad to see you value more your police department with guns and violence rather than a system that helps those learn who are the future. Police should get funding. It should be decreased by at least 32%, which that 32% can be given to our community schools. I would like to be notified when the next year's fiscal budget voting date is. I also encourage Alejandra Avila to run for mayor of Baldwin Park. I hope my email grabs your attention and is read during your meeting. Thank you. And that's from Margarita Beneda.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm still going. Thank you, Mayor. The next one, my name is Billy Tip, and I am from Los Angeles, California. I know that Baldwin Park City Council meeting is tonight at 5 o'clock, and it is imperative that the fiscal budget is discussed at this meeting. In light of recent events, empty gestures and suggestions for reform are simply not enough. Rather, it is necessary to restructure the police budget in a way that more adequately and effectively meets the needs of taxpayers. I urge you to please reallocate money from the BPPD budget toward helping people, children, and families by redistributing those funds to health, education, housing, and resources for small businesses. Now is the time to break down the systematic racism that exists within our country, and fighting against over-policing is one huge step toward that goal. Thank you for your time. Billy Tip. A few more, Mayor, please. Good afternoon, Baldwin Park City Council members. My name is Janela Festejo, and I have been a resident of Baldwin Park since I was 3 years old. I've spent my entire primary school education in the Baldwin Park Unified School District. I went to Geddes Elementary, Santa Fe School, and graduated from Sierra Vista High School. I have continued to live in Baldwin Park with my family while pursuing higher education at the University of Laverne. I work at a business located in Baldwin Park, and I continue to live here in Baldwin Park. As a concerned resident of this city, I demand to know when you will be voting for the 2021 fiscal budget. I demand that the funding for Baldwin Park Police Department in that fiscal budget be significantly decreased, because as has been made very clear by the state of this nation, over-policing does not lead to safer cities. And I also would like to see Councilwoman Alejandra Avila to run for our mayor of this city. I know I am not the first or only resident to raise these issues, and I ask that you take our demands into serious consideration. A concerned citizen, Janela Festejo. Sorry. Next, number one, please make public notice for when the voting on the 2020-2021 budget will take place. Number two, based on last year's budget, Baldwin Park Police Department received 64% of the allocated funding. You all should decrease that funding and look towards allocating more towards supporting the community, our K-12 schools, and local people of color owned small businesses. Over-policing does not lead to safer cities. And that is from Vicente Roman. Next, to whom this may concern, I hope this email finds you well. First, I would like to know when the 2021 fiscal year budget will be voted on. Second, I want a decrease in the police budget, for I believe it is unnecessary to amount any higher amounts as previously reported. Last but not least, I would like for it to be noted that it is in the city's best interest to have Alejandra Avila run for mayor of Baldwin Park in the future. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter. Respectfully, Alejandra Ornelas. And good evening, council members and Mayor Lozano. Excuse me. As a lifelong resident of Baldwin Park, I am appalled at the fact that over 60% of our city's budget is wasted on the policing of our residents. Studies show that over-policing does not lead to safer communities. Accordingly, I'm requesting that the 2020-2021 fiscal budget, significantly reduce the police budget and increase community development programs. This is especially important during a time where Baldwin Park is experiencing unprecedented development that is not necessarily benefiting its residents. To conclude, I would like to know when the Baldwin Park City Council will vote on the 2020-2021 fiscal budget. I want to know what council members support this gross misallocation of funds so that we can hold them accountable. Thank you, and Alex Avila for mayor. That's by Marco Cornelis.
All right, was that it?
No, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Two more. It states in the Baldwin Park webpage, number one, Baldwin, it states that the Baldwin Park Patrol Bureau has the largest and most visible police department, and they are split up into two 12.5-hour shifts, but in the last couple of weeks, there have been little police presence. Two, the police department is given 64% of funds according to the adopted budget, all funds fiscal year 2019-2020. How are these resources being used in regards to trespassing and theft in the community? And what is the police response in regards to these matters? Three, on Saturday, 5/30/2020, I witnessed a trespassing and possible robbery in my neighborhood. I called the Baldwin Park Police Department, where they informed me that they would be sending a patrol officer. I called the department back when I saw no patrol car arrived, and a dispatcher said that they would send someone over and that I would receive a call back in regards to this matter. It is now 6/3/20, and I have yet to receive a call back. In the Baldwin Park webpage, a message from Police Chief states, quote, public safety is our priority. We want to ensure the city of Baldwin Park is a safe place to live, work, and play, unquote. He also stated we must accomplish this as a team, and that includes the community. Four, so how exactly are we a team when Baldwin Park Police Department does not show up to protect the community it serves? Can you please confirm and receive the email? Thank you. That's from Myra Vargas. Excuse me. And then I believe this is the last one. My name is Susan, and I have been a resident of Baldwin Park my whole life. I am emailing you today to demand that the yearly budget be revised. I demand that we start providing more support towards community efforts and organizations outside of the police forces in order to prevent police brutality and violence in the future. I find it awful that more than 50% of our budget is going to the police when there are students that did not have adequate resources to learn and be at home during the pandemic. Please reconsider the budget, as it not only affects me and my family, but the whole community. Signed, Susan Fomasic, University of California, Irvine, BS Public Health Science. And Mayor, I believe that's all of them. Thank you.
Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam City Clerk. At this point, I want to thank all the individuals that forwarded their letters and communications to the City Council. We are obviously going through the budget now and looking at various things. And of course, it's a difficult time. And today, the theme at today's gathering that we're at was the amount of money spent on police departments. You know, there's no difference between the city of Los Angeles and any other city throughout the country. The vast majority of funds are allocated to the police department. That's where that's at. And I hear what they're saying, but at the same time, we also need to look at that. You know, that there are certain things that I personally believe should be changed. So we're going to have to look at a lot more changes coming up in the future as well. But I just want to thank all those that send in their letters of concern. Thank you.
Mayor, can you hear me?
Mayor.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's this is Monica Garcia.
Yes, Monica Garcia.
Okay. So I did want to ask if through the budget process we can identify the number of items that are proposed to be cut. And I think that with the police department facing the 15% cut, that sounds like it's the most significant amount of savings that will experience, you know, from that 6 point whatever million figure. So I think it's important to highlight that for the community too, to answer some of the questions
that are being posed. And so just to repeat myself, I think it would be important to look at kind of the cumulative number of the cuts across the departments, but also listing out, you know, what those cuts are. So for example, the jail, you know, 400,000, whatever it might be, the helicopter, you know, this amount. So if we can get that itemized and then get the cumulative amount, this way it can be shared with the public. And then second, I think it would also be very important to show what is the overall city budget, restricted funds and all, and to include the entire city budget, and then to look at how much we fund for the police department with the entire city budget. Something that I think, you know, in order to be transparent with the community, it is important to share that we have a general fund, and that is a very specific fund as compared to the entire city budget. So I think just for transparency's sake, it would be good to be able to present that. And then I also wanted to address that, you know, for those that mentioned, you know, the increases to other departments, I also want to express that that has been a priority to this city. I grew up here in Baldwin Park, and I'm 44 years old. Okay, so about 20 years probably older than, you know, some of the folks submitting comments. And so I do, you know, recognize that I've been here a little bit for a few years. And I know that there has been a significant increase in how we invest in our recreation and community services, you know, the parks, so I hear what, you know, what the concerns are. And to be quite honest, those have been concerns that we have expressed over the years as well. So, you know, I think that there's actually some shared concerns about, you know, how different departments are funded at the city. I do think it's important for us as a city to highlight the investments that we've made in other departments. So 3 things. Let's get an itemized breakdown of the 15% cuts across the department for fuller, you know, for better transparency. Second, let's get the entire city budget and, you know, look at it from that angle as well, because what you'll find is that we get grant monies, we have restricted funds, we have other funds, CDBG and all, you know, some of these others that do support, you know, other community activities. And so I think it's important to highlight that. And, you know, and then third, you know, what I mentioned. And then finally, I do think it's also important to mention that the school district is a separate entity than the city. So anything that goes to teachers and that kind of, you know, the funding for our education system, mostly it comes out of the Baldwin Park Unified School District, which is a separate jurisdiction than the city of Baldwin Park. We just talked about the Crossing Guard program, where the city has taken on that cost. And so now we're reconsidering that. We're looking at ways to share the cost. But for the most part, I think it's also important to just, again, for full transparency, because I do think that some of the comments that were submitted, I think some of those, the people that have submitted would appreciate having that information. And again, I just want to say that, you know, their concerns have been our concerns over the years as well. So Shannon, did you get that?
Yes, we can get you those things.
Okay.
We'll provide that to the council before the next meeting. I also did want to let the public know that if they're listening, that we will be posting a public hearing for the budget in 2 weeks at our June 17th meeting.
Yeah. and
Okay, great.
I'm glad to, just to add, the Councilmember Monica Garcia brought that up. As you know, in the past, yes, we have brought that up of the amount that is spent on law enforcement. As a matter of fact, there was a major propaganda that was run, and I won't mention several of those elected officials that are no longer on here who played and outright lied to the community, but we still got elected. So that sent a very clear message that if we need to make a change, make the change. And so I just want to let everyone know that. So, you know, campaigns around the corner. So this is what's gonna, so you're obviously gonna have individuals making certain comments, but it's important for us to know the history of that. And again, we at one time looked at bringing in the sheriffs because of the cost factor. So what we did is conducted an actual study. We thought we're going into that road, and this big old propaganda. We're going to the sheriff's going to say, well, guess what? We got reelected again. So I think the residents understand, and that's important for us. I'm glad you covered that. So those that are hearing this understand there are certain restrictions and certain amount of monies that go to particular departments throughout the city. I mean, we just can't simply get one whole lump sum and say, this is what we're going to do it. And I remember, just to let everyone know, I think we would have saved somewhere like $3 million to close to $4 million had we contacted with the sheriff's department back then, which was looked at. So just kind of little history of the from the archives. But okay, moving along. All right, so at this point, unless we have any other questions, I will go ahead and we're going to go into closed session. So let me read the, hold on. The closed session item that we have is will be the recess to closed session conference with legal.
Mayor, really quick, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So recess to closed session.
Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Alejandra. Really quick, I want to thank all the residents that sent in their comments, and I know, Monica, you requested an itemized breakdown of the budget. That's a great idea. Shannon, maybe if we can have it up for the public to see, so they can have time to look at it before the meeting starts, maybe a day or so. I know sometimes we're working on it, so that they can have an idea of what they're looking at. So when we do have the meeting, they can follow better with us.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do that.
And
Okay,
Shannon,
thank you.
also make sure that goes on the Baldwin Park newsletter, the newsletter that goes out to the community. Because if you look in the archives, we placed one that was excellent. Placed the whole actual grants and everything of the expenditure. During the propaganda of us looking at the sheriff's department, which was an excellent. So I don't know if you guys could find that or not, but I think that would explain a lot in our residents. All right. So if no further questions at this point, we're going to go into recess to closed session with pursuant to Government Code Section 5.6, agency designated representative of the employees organization. Number 2, conference with legal counsel litigation. 3, negotiation pursuant to Government Code 5.956.
Mayor, we can't hear you.
About the conference with legal counsel. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and go into closed session.
Okay, so everybody will need to log off and log back into the closed session meeting. We'll see you there.
Okay, bye-bye.